Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Shamelessly Ambitious pod. I am so freaking excited right now to be recording. I can't even believe it. This is episode 135, which is just a big celebration in and of itself. But if you've been around for a while or you're brand new, your girl took a little break, a little hiatus, and we can call this when March becomes May, because my intention was to take a few months to rest, to turn the volume down on pretty much everything in my life and recover a little bit. And I'm going to get into the details of that. And what ended up happening was that May came in the blink of an eye, and I had the most extraordinary few months in what I deemed my selfish era. And I have so much to tell you and so much to share. But I figured for the very first podcast back, we would focus strictly on some of those business updates. And more importantly, I want to give a little backstory as to what got me here and what made me want to take this break and what happened in the middle of it and in the midst of it, and then what you're really going to get to expect from myself, from my company, from this brand in general. And I'm really excited. It was truly more than I could have ever hoped for. I'm really excited. In the next episode, I'm going to share more of the personal details. But in addition to being 30 pounds lighter and way healthier and having way less parasites, I wish I could say I have none, but I'm not quite there yet. My whole health took a transformation. My relationships was transformed. Our personal life massively transformed. So if you've been following along on social media, I did spill a little bit of the tea, but again, more to come on the next episode around how we are again embarking on a nomadic journey. And I'm so freaking excited. We are just weeks away from leaving. In fact, when this episode airs, we will be just days away from being on our travel adventure again, and homeschooling and all the crazy things. So that all comes in the next episode. This episode is primarily focused on all things business. So first and foremost, a little bit of the backstory. Okay. So gosh, when I was really sitting and thinking of this, like what led to me really desiring to just turn it all off. And I know we've all been there. We've all been there where you're just like, enough, enough is enough. I'm out. I don't want to do anything else. I just need a break. And I really came to that, but it actually started a little bit sooner. So, little backstory. In 2022, so we are going a little ways back. In 2022 was our first bout of nomadic, adventurous living. And we lived all over the world. We started in Costa Rica, and then we made our way over to Europe, and we lived in Italy, and we lived in London and Amsterdam and Paris, and we just had this extraordinary time. And during that extraordinary personal time, I unlocked so many codes, if you will, to my personal success. In fact, I brought in over $400,000 that year. I celebrated so much. I created so much. I had so much fun. And at the end of that year, I was a little beat. I was a little tired. And I think a lot of factors played into this, including the fact that, of course, we were traveling abroad full time and with 3 kids. It got pretty exhausting. So much learning happened in that year. One of the most important things that I really learned, though, was that time is such a funky thing. It's such a fickle thing, really, because here I was living nomadically, traveling full time, and I was working 10 to 15 hours a week max. That was about all that I had space for and desire for, to be honest with you, because we were in some of the most extraordinary places in the world. And that's what I wanted to be doing, was exploring. And so I got really creative with my offer suite, really creative with how I was serving my clients. And I had one of the most extraordinary years financially, in creativity, and all the things. Okay. And then we decided that we were pretty tired from traveling and decided to land. And so in 2023, we made our way back to America. And after a few months of trying to figure out what exactly that would look like, we ultimately decided to land and build a home, the home I'm currently sitting in, but will not own very soon. We built this home and we furnished it and we made it this extraordinary place. And I always giggle at this part because I feel like most people would not do the things that we have done or make such quick decisions. But we have always been, my husband and I, just really unavailable for discontentment. And it only took a couple months, if not less, within this home to realize we were not meant to be here. Not only in Texas itself as a state, primarily because, to be fully transparent, we moved here to be near family, and then my family was not here anymore. And so that kind of left no reason for us to be here, but not really loving it so much ourselves. But most importantly, because we were feeling that draw, that pull to be experiencing life at that vibrant level. It's almost like we experienced life in full color. And then we landed thinking that the thing we desired more than anything was the consistency, right? I thought I could, if I can do this, if I can create this sort of success in 10 to 15 hours a week, what could I create in 25 to 30 hours a week? And that's what's funny, is because we landed here. I feel like for us personally, again, this is very personal preference, but for us, that full color picture that we were experiencing really dulled. And we very easily fell back into the rhythms of life where the kids are at school and we're, running from one activity to the next in the afternoons. And I have a lot of time, especially in comparison to previous seasons in my life where I had younger kids and kids at home. Like I'm in a season now where my kids are actually in school, which is crazy. And yet my creativity, my inspiration, my motivation, everything kind of felt a little wonky. Now, originally, I blamed this on, full transparency, in 2023, I blamed it on feeling pretty grossed out by the industry in general. Now, this isn't untrue. This is still very much a fact for me. I think there's a lot of stuff within the industry, within the online business space, in the coaching realm, the service-based realm, and all of it that's a little wonky. And a lot of people, wanting to create businesses, which is beautiful, but maybe not actually having the credentials or expertise to do so. A lot of people charging some crazy, crazy rates without really being able to deliver on their promises, both from things I'd experienced, but also things my clients had experienced. I was just kind of feeling like, do I even belong here? So I was kind of having this identity crisis with this like business identity crisis, like all these sort of crises, if you will. And so in 2023, I spent a great deal of time feeling kind of exhausted, a little bit on the burnout realm. And I started to deconstruct a lot of what I was doing and try to rebuild it through the lens of wanting to be incredibly integrity filled, which I feel like, confidently I've always really been, but also wanting to invite the prospect of changing that, right? Of being able to provide the insight and the knowledge and the support to people within the industry that could make them better at what they're doing, which I still am very, very much behind. But in doing that, I found myself in a little bit of a season of perfectionism. And I think it had a lot to do with the amount of time that I had rather than, in 2022 when it was just like, hey, if I've got a little bit of space, I'm going to do with it what I can. And it was like scrappy, but intentional, but like so fluidly creative, which was beautiful. And then in 2023, it was like, no, I have to do everything right. I have to do everything perfect. I have to figure out, the perfect way to do this the right way, et cetera, et cetera. And like looking outside of myself, which for many, many years as a business owner, that's been one of my greatest gifts, is that I rarely ever look outside myself. I'm very consciously really in tune to what I feel is the next best step and really hearing my own wisdom and my own voice. But sadly and reflectively in 2023, it's like all that got dimmed. And it kind of got dimmed even coming here. I didn't want to do a whole lot of the personal piece of things, but I will tell you that one big thing that brought us back to America was the influence that I personally, and my husband as well, was experiencing, feeling like we, on social media and those social media platforms, feeling like we were missing out. Most importantly for me, it was when back to school happened and there was a lot of back to school pictures of kids. And I started to really question, like, am I doing the right thing for my children? Have I failed them by not giving them that traditional back to school experience? Have I done them wrong? I was so stressed about that. And then I also wondered, like, could I do better in my business? Could I do life better if I had, my kids were in school and they were getting the right schooling and the right education and all the quote unquote right things? Society and all of its rules and regulations just came down in a heap on my head and I wasn't aware of it, sadly. And so when the year was coming to an end, I was starting to recognize this. When 2023 was coming to an end, I was starting to see, like, I kind of lost my sauce, man. Like, I really fell victim to the narrative outside of myself, society's like what you should and shouldn't do, what life should look like, i.e. big, beautiful, custom designed home and dream car and great school district and all these things that actually are none of what I actually desire. Even with my business, I started to build it out and was like, ew, this isn't what I want. I want massive impact and major connection and to heal the epidemic of loneliness and and that feeling of not belonging in the entrepreneurial and ambitious space, but also just for women in general. I want to raise the standards for women. That has always been my desire, both as business owners and for fellow business owners and entrepreneurs, but also for women in general. Like, let's raise the standard. Let's do life differently. And that's how I've always lived until 2023. And I always say that we need the medicine that we can gift others the most. And part of that, in my opinion, is really just a way to be more embodied in what we teach. And if it was so easy for me to constantly live risky and above the standard and above the norm and to do things so different all the time, and it never ever crossed my mind that I should be more traditional or I should follow the status quo, well, then I wouldn't really be able to speak to it or teach on it because I wouldn't understand. And so I needed to get a really strong dose of understanding what it's like to feel the pressures of what you should be doing as a business owner or what you should be doing as a woman. And so, yeah, as I came into the new year, it was really evident to me that I needed to turn it all off. So I did. I turned off the podcast. I turned off all things social media. I turned off the email. I turned it all off. The only things I kept, quote unquote, on were my mastermind, my redefined mastermind, which I held between the months of January and then it actually ends at the end of this month, May, my membership, and my private clients who are already enrolled. So I turned it all off. Now, I have to be fully transparent here that I'm really grateful that I've always carried a mentality of sustainability within my business. And so I was grateful to know that I had plenty of residual reoccurring revenue within my company to ensure that this wasn't going to cost me anything. And I say that because I don't really have the luxury of just not making income. You know, my family depends on my income along with my husband's. And so it's important that I bring that in. And so it wasn't a matter of just like, fuck it, I'm done, I quit, everything's over. It was like, how can I make this possible? And so I did a few things leading into the new year to make it more possible. And then it was sort of a set it and forget it. Like, okay, we've got the income that we need. If I did nothing in 2024, now I got to get my years straight. If I did nothing in 2024 and I came into the new year, I was going to make about $100,000. Now that's much less than I typically would make, but that felt like, okay, I can give myself some space. Now, another thing I did have to do, which was pretty challenging, was I did have to let go of, release, or lessen the hours of a lot of my team. In fact, I let go of 75% of my team. And I had to do this for a number of reasons. One, I just wasn't going to need that kind of support anymore. And two, one of the bigger things that felt heavy for me was my monthly expenses. And so I decided like, okay, I hate this because I love these women and I'm certainly not going to hold them back from finding other positions, but this is just what has to be done. And so I did that. I let a bunch of people go except for one person on my team. And we kind of continued on just serving those clients and giving me some reprieve, some time to breathe. Now, full transparency, one, it was really challenging at first. The non-doing side of things has always been pretty challenging for me. I'm really naturally pretty masculine to my core. So it's hard. I found myself at the very beginning replacing the, selling and content creation, all the things that I'd taken away with refinements and creation and other to-dos. And so I had to get really, really quickly, I had to get really strict with my hours of like, okay, I really can't work more than like 5 hours a week. Like I have to block out the time that I need to serve the people that I've promised to serve and serve them so, so well. But everything else needs to stop or I'm never going to get to the resolution that I need to get to, that I desire to get to. And that was really challenging. So I want to be really forthright with that. And then something happened, which I'm not going to give all the details for because that's just not who I am. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but the final team member that I had on my team, some stuff came to light that ultimately broke trust and had me in a position where I had no choice but to let her go. And this was extremely, extremely challenging for me. In fact, this was weeks of recovery and heartache. And, if you listen to any of the past episodes, I went through a lot of friendship trials and tribulations in 2023, and those left me feeling really betrayed and sad, just sad in general. And a lot of sisterhood wounds. And so this kind of came at a pretty sensitive time where it felt like what had happened with my friends in 2023 did play a pretty big role in like the personal burnout that I was feeling and the heartache that I was carrying. And so I knew that was a big part of the healing I needed to do. And then to have this happen and to feel sort of that same but different betrayal, it was gut-wrenching. It was gut-wrenching. And I have to share that from that. So I went from having had team since 2020 to being a solopreneur, like overnight, no warning, nothing. It was kind of wild. But I learned a lot of lessons, as we always do. One of those big ones that I learned right away was, oh my gosh, we never updated any contracts with her to protect me better. And that was totally my bad. And I say this out loud because sometimes you have to fail to learn your lessons. And I kind of had to fail in this area. So as I started to hire new people on, which I'm very excited, I hired several new people on this month, actually, as I'm coming back into things. But I did so with very updated and well-rounded contracts. Okay. So I didn't have the contracts in place. I didn't also have copywriting in place for things that I didn't think would ever see the light of day, but recognizing now like, oh, I need to copyright a lot of things within my business because, there's nothing more devastating, honestly, than having somebody take advantage of your intellectual property because it's kind of this gray area that's like, hey, I created that, or those are my words, or that's my brain and my years and years of knowledge and investments and all these things, and you're acting as though it's yours. It's gut-wrenching. And I think a lot of people have been there. And so I had to get in contact with a lawyer right away at this time and find out what my rights were and what I could do. Now, for me, I'm always going to approach things human first. And that's exactly what I did here. There's a lot more that I could have done, but that wasn't where my heart was. My heart was just to kind of protect myself and say like, this was just unsafe for me and you really broke my trust. And now I have to close this door. And that stinks on so many levels, but it is what it is. The same week that happened, I found out that there was a trademark infringement on this podcast. So Shamelessly Ambitious is a trademark that I own. And as I started taking over some of these roles that had previously been this other person's, I realized that some more things had fallen through the cracks, including doing research to ensure nobody was utilizing my trademark. And so as I started to do that, I discovered that somebody was and had a podcast with literally the same name and the same like description. And it was like, oh, so luckily I was already in contact with a lawyer. So I was like, hi again, me, I don't know what's happening. So there was a lot of lessons learned, a lot of legal pieces that I put into play over the past couple of months that I feel was a real gift to me. Like these things came to fruition in an uncomfortable way, but they also came to light so that I could do things differently and also hire differently. Because through all this, I learned a lot about what I do, what kind of support I do want, and also what kind of expenses I want. I've been talking a lot about this behind the scenes with my private clients of, there's this idea that we have to have X, Y, and Z of a team, or it has to look this way. Well, when I came back to hiring, I sort of debunked all of that and said, no, this is how much I'm willing to invest on this. And I'm going to find the people that this feels really good for. And anybody beyond this just isn't going to be the right fit for me, because I want to make sure that my company does have the leniency and the leanness, if you will, within it that ensures that I feel good and energetically good. I don't want to feel desperation around selling. I don't want to feel desperation around bringing people in the door. I want to feel good and excited, and that everything gets to be a bonus, and that the people that work for me are happy and excited too. And so in my hiring, and I'm sure I'll get into this in further episodes and go deeper, I was able to do that and to honor that. And so it didn't feel so good, but it ended up working out really well. And I'm very, very grateful for that. In this time, I also recognized, and I kind of pointed this out before, how much my creativity, my innovation, my clarity, the things that are so important to me in my brand, how tied they are to my life and how much fun I have and how good I feel in my body. One massive thing, again, I'll get into more detail in the next episode of this, but one massive thing I did was embark on my glow up. I ultimately decided like, I am going to glow up. Like I'm going to feel better. I'm going to look better. You're not even going to be able to fucking recognize me when I come out of this quarter. And I did it. And I'm so proud of myself. But man, the results, like, yes, I definitely have a preference for how I look now compared to how I looked before. I definitely have a preference for how I feel now compared to how I felt before. But moreover, that innovation, that edge that I had before is fucking back. I'm back, baby. That creativity, that just the energy that I had in my business is back. And it was such a huge aha of like, one, I let my emotions sort of control my health in 2023 and therefore just was not feeling good in my body. And I forgot how important it is for me to live an adventurous life. Like it's my freaking blood. It's what pumps my blood. And so even though we're not traveling yet, we're not living this crazy adventurous life now, like even just making the decision and putting our house for sale and doing the things that we did, it shifted so much. It shifted so much and it just made me feel so much better. And so is this like, hey, non-negotiable, I have to feel good. I have to like, even just the way that I dedicated myself to my marriage in this first quarter, more than the first quarter, the first half really of the year, just changed everything. The way I feel in motherhood, the way I feel in every single aspect of my life. I put all of that before my business like I've never done before. And the results are showing itself in my business. The sales that just happen naturally, the ideas that come to fruition, the constant just like things are just falling in my lap. And I so deeply believe that magnetism has everything to do with the fact that I raised the standards in how I feel in my body, how I feel in my relationships, the way that and here's the thing, I have to say this too, because it was not that in 2023, I did not have morning routines or I didn't take care of myself. I was still working out. I wasn't prioritizing it the way that I used to. You know, I was really lost in the sauce. I don't know how else to put it. I was lost in the sauce. I was very influenced and I have an open head in human design. And so I have a lot of recognition for how important it is for me to be so mindful about influences in my life. I just really wasn't. And so it influenced me deeply. I also really feel like, and again, I'm going to share more of this on the next episode, but I did uncover that I was riddled with parasites. And I think that played a really big role in how I was feeling energetically and how I was putting on weight faster than I've ever put on weight before. And I don't necessarily think I was definitely not eating perfect, but I wasn't consuming the amount of food that it would take to weigh the amount that I weighed, if that makes sense. And so even my naturopath was like, that could have a lot to do with your parasites. So I think that played a really big role as well. So yeah, I learned that my adventurous life matters, that my wellness matters, that the team that I surround myself with, that the expenses that I put on my shoulders, that these things matter so much. And as I left my selfish era at the end of the first quarter, that was kind of my intention, that it was all around being selfish. I just wanted to take care of me above and beyond everything else. I read like a bazillion books, not a bazillion, but at least 20. I'm up to 26 books as of May. So I read so many books. I listened to so many great podcasts. I enjoyed my life and I put myself first. And then when I came into Q2, which I know we're really just in the middle of right now, I declared it my more than enough. And what I mean by that is what I've really felt, and maybe this is an age thing. You know, I got older kids. I'm about to turn 37. So I'm definitely in that I'm a little older. I'm not old, but I'm a little older. And I feel like it's so funny. You look at people sometimes that are younger and they're hungry. And I love that hunger for them. I really do love that hunger for them. And it's not that I'm not hungry. I'm just hungry for different things. I'm hungry for presence. I'm hungry for peace. I'm hungry for sustainability, which to me means making good money with little amount of effort so that I can be present for my life, but also knowing that we're putting that money in the right places to ensure that we have a good life ahead of us and a lot of comfort in the life ahead of us. That's what I'm hungry for. I'm hungry for more than enough. And what I mean by that is that I think I spent a lot of years going for more. I know I spent a lot of years going for more because that was sort of a thing, right? Like if I hit 400,000, then I should hit 500,000. If I make a $40,000 month, then I should make a $50,000 month. What happens next should be more. And I think the biggest realization I had was that I have more than enough. I have more than enough. And everything gets to be a bonus. And I don't need to fight for it. And I don't need to run my ass off for it because I'm fucking worthy as I am. And it all gets to come to me. And I don't have to go for more because I can build a business, and I have built a business, which is so beautiful to say. In fact, I've had this business for a while. I just think I didn't realize that like I kept wanting more instead of looking at like what I had and being more persistent in holding it really well and holding my life really well with it, you know? And that's where I'm at now. It's not how can I break more records? It's how can I have more joy and more peace and more presence. My word for the year is quality. Okay. And that says a lot, right? I want everything that I do to be with quality. I want to record every podcast with quality in mind. I want every workout to have so much quality to it, not quantity, not more, not extra, not more, but enough, more than enough, and just to feel into every moment. And I've been really doing that. And it's been feeling so good. I've been feeling so good. So, what's next? What's next? Well, there's a few changes that you're going to see. For one, in the month of May, we have this really fun retired bundle sale going on because many of the programs that I have once shared and loved to share and seen so much impact from are retiring for good. In order to make space for new and to kind of clean things up and simplify things, we are eliminating a lot of stuff. And so a lot of programs are going away for good. And we are doing one last final sale. It's insane. It's $87 for multiple programs that will absolutely change your life. So if you want to get that, you can get that in the link in the bio, in the show notes, link in bio. I'm on Instagram. I'm also doing some fun deals for one-on-one intensives and my business breakthrough, which is a brand new offer that I'm obsessed with. One of my love languages is being able to look at people's businesses and just give them my honest feedback, my honest review, my honest action steps I think they should take to solve whatever problem they have. It's something that I include in my private mentorship as well as in my masterminds. And there are these audits. I screen record on Loom and I give you my feedback. And every single time I do these, people are like, oh my gosh, like that changed everything for me. And I realized I wanted to create this as an offer on its own. So it's called the Business Breakthrough. And this month, it will typically be $197, but this month only, it is $147. I only opened up 5 spots because I always want to be mindful that I can give the very best to everybody who ever purchases from me. And I believe at this time, there's only 2 left. So we'll see if I open up more, if there is more when you actually listen to this episode, but that's the Business Breakthrough. So those are some of the focuses right now, is just really supporting people on that individual level because I personally love it. I love serving people one-to-one. I think it's amazing. I love receiving one-to-one support, and I feel like it's really hard to find quality one-to-one support that does not break the bank. And so that was kind of important for me to come back into the space, if you will, and have an offer like that. And in addition to that, so all these programs are retiring. I'm really capping private mentorship. So I do have 1 spot open now for private mentorship, but I'm keeping it really lean. Again, I want to be able to provide quality. I also want to have quality in my life. My freaking mastermind is the most epic experience ever, but I did decide I'm only going to host it 1 time a year, which was kind of crazy. I typically would have masterminds going at all times, but again, quality is the name of the game, my friend. And so the very next mastermind will be in 2025, but you can get on the waitlist now to ensure that you hear first, get a really awesome waitlist bonus, and get in there because it's super intimate as well. Again, quality. So there's only 6 spots available, but that will begin January of 2025. And I am allowing people to get on the waitlist, and we'll start enrolling in the final quarter of the year. And then finally, and the most important change of all, is my membership. Although I can't really share much about it yet because it is getting a massive renovation, as it will be the most important main offer of my suite. So juicy. I wish I could give you more, but I really can't at this time. But it is absolutely tremendously epic and all encompassing, and the most beautiful space and the most beautiful thing I've ever created in my life. And I'm so excited for it because it's sort of everything. It's sort of everything. And it's accessibility meets massive impact, meets community and a sense of belonging, meets healing and sisterhood. And it's just so good. It's so good. If you love the podcast, I will tell you this, you would absolutely die to be in the membership then. It's going to be so good, so raw, so real. absolutely innovative in every way. And I cannot wait to release it. We are going to be launching that in July. So more information will be coming soon. We're currently renovating behind the scenes and allowing our current members to experience the renovation in real time. And I'm really excited for that as well. So that's a little wrap on the business things. On the business things, I am celebrating still an incredible, incredible year. I still was able to bring in another $40,000 in unexpected revenue in the first part of the year. And I feel really excited about that. I feel really excited about the sustainability factor, about the joy of my offer suite. And I think I want to leave it with an invitation to witness yourself. I took a moment to witness myself and it changed everything. I took a moment to slow down enough to take that selfish era, if you will, and to learn a lot of really beautiful and hard lessons. And it left me completely transformed. So, on the next episode, I'm going to tell you all the personal things, where we're going, how I lost the weight, what my life looks like now, all the personal things, because what I'm really excited for is that this podcast is also having a little change. There will still be weekly episodes, but every other week, they're going to be episodes while I walk and I just spill the freaking tea. And as I spill the tea, you get to learn from me, but also just feel like you're chatting with a friend, which is all I've ever wanted to create from this space. And so every other episode will be me, my musings on a walk, sharing all the things. And then the other episodes will be me in a traditional podcast setting, giving you as much knowledge and expertise that I can gift you so that your life can be beautiful and your business can be beautiful and you can live completely above the standard. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for always being here. Gosh, it feels good to be back.